to the channel. Today we are not in the shed. We're checking out my brother's girlfriend's 1981 Volvo 242 that I put a Volkswagen 1.6 turbo diesel in. And it's a cool little cruiser, and yeah, I'll just go over kind of how I did it and what parts I used, and then we'll go for a little drive and you can experience the raging exhilaration that is a Volkswagen turbo diesel in a Volvo. So, first things first, everyone's going to wonder what transmission is in this thing, and it is a 5-speed, and it is a Suzuki Sidekick or Chevy Tracker transmission. They did come in 2-wheel drive, and that's bolted to a Acme adapters kit. Just they put them in those little Samurais and Trackers all the time. It was a great kit, and once that was all bolted together, it was just a matter of making some motor mounts, which are buried way down in there. I'm not going to even bother trying to show them. But it was pretty straightforward. Custom motor mounts, custom trans mount, custom drive shaft. And then it was just a matter of kind of getting all of the plumbing and existing systems to work with the turbo diesel. I'm using a Volvo power steering pump with some custom bracketry driven off the front of the Volkswagen crank. Using the VW alternator. That's pretty straightforward. As far as wiring goes, there's not a lot with these. There's a fuel cut solenoid, the starter wiring, and a couple gauges. That all works with the factory Volvo dash. I am using I'm planning on using a tack adapter to get the tachometer working. And then all of these wires and switches here are to do with glow plugs, the glow plug heaters, which are actually in the back of the head to preheat the coolant that goes to the heater core. And that's actually driven off or controlled by, there's a temperature controller down there on that lower rad hose setup that as soon as the engine gets up close to operating temperature, it disengages that relay. E-fan and main relays just to control the few wires that this thing takes. Sorry, there's bugs out everywhere here. And yeah, the coolant heater hoses on the back were a bit tricky. There's not my best work back there, but we got it done. Throttle cables, factory throttle, Volvo throttle cable. Intercooler pipe and work is just a generic eBay kit with a eBay front mount. It's all black, you can't really see it in there, but it does the job. Turbo is a K24 that these came with an aftermarket wastegate. It's running about 15 pounds of boost, and it moves okay. I would say it's about the same as the B21A that was in this thing. 3-inch exhaust all the way out with a MagnaFlow resonator. We did have it straight piped for a while, but it was way too loud. Yeah, we just went up and over the axle. It's nice and clean and simple. Just a generic E-fan, and actually using the factory VW coolant temp switch into the Volvo radiator. That's a factory Volvo radiator to turn that on and off. and it runs great. No hot running issues at all. If anything, that radiator is oversized for this little motor, but yeah, it's been trouble-free so far. So inside the car, it's pretty basic. It's pretty much the way it left the factory in 1981. We did add a few things though. Just a pyrometer and boost gauge, just to keep an eye on what's going on. Glow plug controller. I'd like to find like a timer relay eventually, but for now you just hold and glow to get it up in the morning. And nice Bluetooth deck. Shifter is the factory Suzuki sidekick shifter with a nice crystal door handle off a 100-year-old some house somewhere. I thought it looked pretty cool and it feels nice. So a couple Space Corgi shift boots and lanyards, because this is Amanda's car and she likes corgis.
Don't forget Bob.
Oh yeah, Bob.
Let's put a few little highlights in here just to make them little rascals just sparkle in the sun.
Definitely have to rev it. It's just a little 1.6. There's not much stroke there, but compared to the V21, it's definitely torquier. It's a fun little car. She just uses it to go to work and go to the shops and stuff like that. It's not a speed demon, but it was never built to be one. We just wanted something simple and reliable. Granted, a Volvo engine is simple and reliable, but the carbureted V21 just gave me nothing but problems. We rebuilt the carb, everything we could think of, and I'm a fuel injection guy, and I mean, this is a close second, I guess, mechanical fuel injection. So if you want more power, you just get a flathead and turn the pump up more. But like I said, it's about 15 pounds of boost right now, and it gets out of its own way. We could probably go a bit more, but with these IDI diesels, you know, you can't just turn it up to 30 pounds. They just, the combustion chamber design and everything about them compared to like a direct injection diesel, like the newer TDIs and stuff like that, they're way more responsive to power and stuff like that. With the IDIs, it's a dinosaur motor, so you know, perfect fit for what this car was designed for. It just pushes it down the road at about 450k to a tank, and I think before you were lucky to get maybe 300, 280 to a tank. I mean, it wasn't running right, but we tried for a while, and you know, people didn't care as much. Oh, that's a good turn signal. Yeah, that's useful. Thank you. But yeah, it's fun just to row through the gears. It was an automatic car before too, so we manual swapped it when we did the diesel. All the way out to the danger zone. We hit 80. This thing's fun. You definitely have to keep it on the turbo. That thing's laggy for the size of it. We should Uh-oh. I wonder how that happens. If I had to have done anything differently, we probably would have tried to find a 1.9, either 1.9 mechanical or a 1.9 ALH. I'm not a very good VW guy. I did the research when we were building this thing like 2 years ago, and I've since forgotten it all. But the motor for this car, this project, actually came out of a wrecked car that was sitting in a bog. We just happened to stumble across it. I actually got the whole thing for free. So we got that motor and we're like, oh, I guess we'll do a 1.6 because it's what we had. So I wish the fuel mileage was a little bit better. My other diesel swap Volvo, we'll do another video on that one. It got almost 600K. So I was a little bit disappointed when this one's only getting around 450. But I mean, it is a little motor, and we are working it to pull this thing around compared to the Jetta it came out of. There's no denying these are not the lightest cars out there. But I'm really happy actually with how it drives. You can, just cruise, and it's fun. And the rest of the car is bone stock, just freshened up. It's big cushy suspension and everything else like that. So on these rough back roads, it just kind of floats along and you don't rattle your fillings out. And we did a lot of sound deadening in it as well. I learned that from my last diesel swap. I probably would do even more. It is hard to quiet down the rattling of compression ignition. But you can have a conversation in here. It's got a decent sound system and air conditioning. Got to do one with air conditioning. I wouldn't mind doing that on the next one. And a few dash rattles too, but the engine rattles quiet down the dash rattles.
40-year-old plastic.
Yeah, this is true. Get me though.
Let's look. Do you want it right on you?
Hang on.
What'd you do?
I went to. I forgot I hurt my wrist.
Whoa. She's built like a steakhouse, but she handles like a bistro.